We've all seen DJI's crazy good LiDAR autofocus, but you've always needed to use a Ronin 40 or an RS series gimbal. But now with this kit, you can use it with just about anything. All right, so before I get to this, I want to start off with the RS4 Pro. It still has a payload capacity of around 10 pounds, but the motors are about 20% stronger. So the gimbal does a much better job with handling some of those bigger setups. This is perfect for those larger cameras like the FX6 or Burano, and I've even got this set up to work with my Mini LF. So this would probably be my personal gimbal of choice since it does give you the most flexibility. With larger gimbal setups, a lot of people have grown to like using the tilt-a-ring, but if I'm being honest, I never really liked using it because I've always felt that the ring always introduced so much extra vibration and still usually requires some sort of external support like an easy rig. I found that using a dual grip setup ends up being a lot more sturdy, and you also end up in a much more comfortable operating position, unlike the ring where you use a lot more of your lats because of where you have to place the camera. With the side extensions, you end up using a lot more of your bicep at a much lower position, so you end up spending a lot less time under tension. You still definitely get a solid pump, but it's much less taxing than having to hold the ring at a higher position. New with the RS4 Pro is an all-new Focus Pro motor, which is 30% faster than the previous generation. There are a couple different base plate options that are included, so you can easily throw it on a 15mm rod. Also, thank you, DJI, for getting rid of the annoyingly small 12mm rods. I actually love having the ability to focus manually when using cine lenses because a lot of times when I'm moving past foreground objects, it's nice being able to set my focus myself without having to worry about it automatically sticking to the nearest available object. You can't really use the focus motors with E-mount lenses since they're fly-by-wire, meaning that you'll never get a consistent pull when using a motor since the acceleration is dependent on how fast or slow you adjust the barrel. But if you're using E-mount lenses, there's a pretty good chance you're using autofocus anyways.
You know, I've got all the bells and whistles. I've a Cook SP3 with a follow focus and a monitor, so definitely has a much nicer look than just running, you know, stock G Master lenses with autofocus. As good as autofocus is, it's still nice having that manual control. So the FX6 with the SP3s are like a perfect pairing. These are beautiful.
Here's an example of kind of an all-in-one setup with all the tchotchkes. We have an FX3 with an EC Athena and a LiDAR module right up on top, as well as the DJI transmission mounted right on the bottom. And this little hub allows me to plug everything in at the same time. And I have that mounted directly to the transmitter to kind of keep everything tidy. The LiDAR module is nothing new, and I feel like we've all become spoiled with how good Sony autofocus has become, so it's nice being able to translate some of those amenities to our smaller manual cine lenses. You can actually see the LiDAR camera view by swiping from the left, and from there you can adjust your autofocus settings, including active track. The RS4 Pro ended up being the perfect option for a recent job I did where we used it in an FX6 with a set of Cook SP3s, and it ended up being a great pairing since our A camera was a Venice with full frame Pancros. Also, I recommend never using the SP3s because I can almost guarantee you'll just fall in love with them, and the fact that they're so small and lightweight made them perfect for running on the gimbal. DJI also has this new high-capacity battery grip, which basically doubles your runtime and also feels a lot more balanced when you're running those larger setups. These gimbals have always had really great all-day battery life, but this does become super beneficial if you plan on also running the DJI transmission or the LiDAR module, since that tends to eat up most of your battery. The RS4 is DJI's smaller gimbal and is really aimed for people with smaller mirrorless camera builds. The payload is also the same as before at 6.6 pounds, but the tilt axis has been extended by about 8.5mm to give you extra room to balance with extra accessories on the camera like ND filters or microphones. There's also a Teflon coating that has been added to all three axes that also makes balancing a lot smoother, especially when you're running heavier builds. One great new feature is the native vertical support, which applies to both the RS4 and RS4 Pro. Before, you had to buy an extra vertical bracket for full pan and tilt functionality, but now that feature is just built in, which is great because we all seem to be shooting a lot more vertical nowadays.
Okay, so what is going on? Is that okay? All right. Oh wow. Yeah, that's a game changer. It's a game changer because with the RS2 and the RS3, not being able to switch it out like that and having to like physically use mounts on the side, it's just that saves a lot more time.
The auto locks are also much faster, and a lot of people tend to overhype them. But I'll also jump on that train because it's seriously the one thing that I never knew I needed. Whenever I need to set the camera down or transition to a new location, I can just hit the power button to enter sleep mode and grab the gimbal by the arm without having to individually lock each axis. Another thing I just can't live without is the Bluetooth functionality, so I can trigger recording wirelessly and not have to plug an extra cable into the gimbal. Another huge upgrade is the added RSA port on the side, so now you can use third-party accessories that control the gimbal, which used to only be available on the Pro version. So it's nice having that feature on both models, so you're not forced into getting the bigger gimbal, even though you might just be using a smaller camera. Most people like using external monitors, but if you don't have one or just want to keep things a little bit more nimble, you can use the Raven Eye transmitter that lets you actually use your phone as a monitor and also control the gimbal using active track or by literally just waving your phone around. This little transmitter is only included with the Pro combo, but you can always pick it up separately if you plan on using your phone. The RS4 also supports the new high-capacity battery grip that I mentioned before. I think it extends the battery life to nearly 30 hours. And another neat hidden little feature is that the USB-C port at the bottom actually has 18 watts of power delivery to charge other accessories or your phone if you need. It's great that DJI has sort of standardized both versions, so it's much easier when deciding between the two. If you're running heavier camera bills or just want to use the DJI transmission system, definitely go with the Pro version. Otherwise, the regular RS4 is a much nimbler option. The RS4 is actually what I've used the most in the time that I've had it, simply because I'm typically only running a bare bones FX3 with E-mount lenses. It's so light and compact that it's perfect for when I just don't need all the bells and whistles. Here's pricing in case you're interested. There are gimbal only options, which are great in case you already have a Pro combo laying around, and I'd say that if you're running an RS2 or older, it'd be a definite upgrade for me, simply for the larger balancing platform and auto locks. If I had to choose only one, I'd probably go with the Pro combo to still have the ability to fly some of my larger cameras like the Brano or Alexa, but the smaller RS4 is more than capable for most applications.
And I thought I wasn't going to get another gimbal. No, I'm sold.
Right.
I'm
DJI,
sold.
you done it again.
You done it again. You're going to take my money once again.
No, by the way. Add the money signs too.
So this is a brand new standalone fizz system that you can buy as a kit. Over the past few years, DJI has slowly been picking apart all the great technology found in the Ronin 4D and selling them as standalone kits, and this is their final Infinity Stone. It comes with a LiDAR module, and you can essentially put it on just about any camera you want and enable damn good autofocus for manual cinema lenses. Now, DJI actually already sells this hand unit for the Ronin 4D or Inspire 3, but it always required a high bright remote monitor, but now you're able to wirelessly connect this directly to a Focus Pro motor, so you can actually just use this as a standalone wireless fizz unit. We all know how traditional hand units work. It's a little box with a large knob, and that controls your focus motor, as well as a few other inputs to control your iris and zoom, but the Focus Pro Kit includes the same LiDAR found on the Ronin 4D, which gives you that autofocus on any manual lens. The best way I can describe it is like using Tesla's autopilot. Once you engage AMF, the focus knob will start turning on its own while autofocus is on, and at any given point, you can just take over and pull focus yourself without having to pause or press a hotkey. It's completely seamless. In the week that we used it on set, the focus was super accurate and just about had a 100% hit rate. You also know the autofocus is really good when you catch your AC scrolling through Instagram and focus is still tack sharp. We recently used the focus system on a jib, which was pretty neat because we were running a Primista zoom, and focus, like I said, was spot on for the entire week.
Sorry, Shane.
Yeah, it's going to be harder to follow on focus.
All right, we can slow it down a little.
That's okay. I'm up for the challenge. I have the LiDAR.
Sean likes the challenge.
Unlike a lot of other rangefinders that only measure distance in a straight line, The DJI LiDAR module is actually able to detect faces, no matter if they're on the edge of the frame, meaning that you get subject and face tracking on any lens that you're using. If you're using the DJI transmission system, you can even pull up the LiDAR camera view as a picture-in-picture, and even go a step further and display a focus waveform, which is essentially a top-down view of your scene so you can actually visualize where you're focusing in 3D space. I think that there's a lot of value in having the LiDAR module because even when you're still manually focusing, having that depth map makes it really easy to place your focus instead of guessing distances off a 2D plane. You also get this heat map, which is another really cool focus assist tool. Anything that's green is in focus, and objects become hotter when they appear closer to camera and colder when they're farther from camera. The hand unit also includes a few neat features, including the ability to adjust the dampening that's applied to the focus knob, which is really handy when you're racking during a really precise pull. So you can add a lot of resistance so that the focus wheel feels nice and thick. Now the hand unit doesn't support markers, but you can set A and B marks, and the wheel uses magnets to add hard stops, which I thought was really interesting. There's also a little bracket you can get to attach the hand unit directly to a DJI monitor, and it's probably one of the lightest focus pulling setups I've ever come across when you're using the stock DJI batteries. You get around an hour and a half of battery life, which is pretty decent, especially considering that you're receiving a wireless video signal to a high-rate monitor.
So the hand unit's really great. I like that it's attached to the monitor itself because I can walk around set and check my marks, roll on the camera, be close to the director so I can hear her direction, and it feels good, honestly. Like, I really got used to pulling with it, and the wheel feels smooth. It's not too, like, you know how some wheels when you're pulling it you know, feels really sensitive or sharp. Like, it feels really smooth in my hands. It fits really good. Like, I like the design of it itself. It is crazy light. Yeah, it is crazy light. Like, this whole thing, I've been able to walk around set with it all day, and I'm not, like, you know, tired of holding it. Like, I can hold it up to me, stand here and pull and stuff like that, and it stays, it's really light. I can hold. No, I'm just holding it. It doesn't bother me. I like it because the weight distribution too, with like the bracket, the monitor, and the hand unit, like, it doesn't feel too top heavy or bottom heavy. Like, I'm really able to just like use it and hold it and not feel bothered by it all day, you know? So that's a plus. Yeah.
The Focus Pro Kit also includes this neat little control grip, which is also super handy when you're pulling your own focus on a Cine lens, and it feels a lot more ergonomic than a traditional follow focus. It comes with a little NATO rail that you can attach to your camera rig, and you're able to adjust the dial sensitivity so you can clear the entire focus range with a really small turn, or make it super slow if you're focusing, say, with a macro lens. There's also a little port that's included for the LiDAR module in case you wanted to add autofocus as well.
So we're just shooting some content with the Raptor and the new Burano, and the new DJI Focus handle came in super handy because I didn't have my follow focus because I just came off a job, but I had this and it was perfect because it has a NATO clamp on the side, and basically all of the Burano's accessories are basically built off of NATO rails, so I was able to just clamp it on to the existing bracket, and then I had plugged motor straight into the handle, and I was able to basically pull my own focus, which is super nice because I didn't have my traditional follow focus. So, and it was also really cool because we also threw this lens motor onto the Raptor, and then I was able to actually pull focus for that camera as well. So kind of a super neat configuration here, and this is super handy when I'm just, even when we're on sticks, and can really easily pull focus without having to crank the barrel, and you introduce all those extra movements into the lens without using them follow focus. So this was super lightweight, and you know, this is basically the same as a Ronin battery. So, and I was even able to just plug it in via USB and charge it while I was using it, and so also super handy. So kind of a neat little use case there. I do wish there were some sort of wireless built in to this grip, because at the moment, the only way to actually use the grip is when it's connected directly to a motor. This would be nice to use on larger gimbal setups like the older Ronin 2, which I still use every now and then, and this would be a perfect solution to pull my own focus if it had wireless.
I'm also not a huge fan of the USB-C cables. The longest available length is currently 30 centimeters, and if you're running a longer zoom lens or running a larger camera body, there's just no way a standard D-tap cable will reach, and the only way to power it is from the focus grip. Even the cable hub was on the shorter side when we were using the Premista with the Burano, but we made it work. Speaking of cables, I'm not sure if start-stop functionality even exists when you're using the Focus Pro as a standalone unit, since I'm not exactly sure what you'd plug into. Normally, as a first AC, you'd be the one responsible for pushing the record button, but it seems like you don't really have that option with this system. It would be nice if you were able to store proper lens maps onto the hand unit. At the moment, you can only store 3 different lens profiles on the LiDAR module, and the entire calibration process is honestly a little bit weird. You have to point the camera at something 1 meter away and make sure it's in focus, and then point it at something else that's 4 meters away. And from there, the LiDAR extrapolates the rest of the focus marks. Oddly enough, it works surprisingly well, but I'd still rather calibrate lens profiles the old-fashioned way by marking each distance from the lens. Another drawback I noticed is that the motors on the focus unit itself are quite large, so you're not able to stack them side by side if you're using smaller lenses, but a quick workaround is to just use your motors on alternating sides. You can get the Focus Pro Creator Combo for $9.99 and the All-in-One Combo for $18.49, or even piecemeal your own kit a la carte and add as you go. The Focus Pro Kit is neat because not only can you use it as a solo creator when you need to pull your own focus, but also when you're working on larger sets with a dedicated focus puller. The kit comes with a single Pro motor, but you can also buy more separately for $150, which is far more accessible than some of the industry standards. Plus, you're getting what's probably one of the best autofocus solutions for manual lenses.